Welcome back, because we've just taken a quick break because of camera and internet problems. And we were in the midst of talking about the seer being attached to the seen, and that being one of the main impetuses that caused the father of yoga to compile or bring together all these elements of yoga. So that all in conjunction with these two birds on the same tree, sloka 6 and 7 of chapter 4 of the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. So we put up the two trees of samsara and yoga, and we looked at the samsara tree before the break. That's what's in your way, that's what's bothering you, that's the grain of sand in your bed, the hair in your food, the monkey in your wrench. So this is what will get you out of those predicaments, yoga. And one person at the break asked, are you going to go through this chart fully? And I said, well, the yamas and niyamas are there. We started to go through them already. You want to be nonviolent, truthful, non-covetousness of others' goods, just receiving what comes to you naturally and being content with it, basically. And you want to be moderate in your sensual appetites, or if you're a monk, actually abstinent. And also a parigraha. You want to not give and receive gifts. Not only, as we were saying, because there are strings attached and it causes problems. How many gifts did you give to people at Christmas and they were insulted, you see, for some reason? They don't look at the spirit of the gift giving, they just look at the gift itself. So that kind of thing takes your mind off of higher things. So the parigraha, really the teaching from Patanjali is that it takes your mind away from thoughts of God, thoughts of sadhana, thoughts of practice. And therefore you can't meditate, therefore you can't remember your past lifetimes. If you were once to get a glimpse of your past lifetimes, and a glimpse could mean deja vu, but that's kind of a momentary thing, isn't it? People say, oh, I think I've been here before. You know, it's the usual way they would say that, even as far back as the 60s. We have all been here before. There were songs written about it, you see. So they have this inkling or feeling, you know, based on a whiff of incense or a scent or a, I don't know, a poster they saw on the street, or some aha moment, some Kodak moment, you see, that passed by in their mind. But that's all indicative of memories, right? Smriti, what's back inside of you. What's back inside you very deep is also a memory of your death, memory of your births. You were witness to those. Otherwise you wouldn't know about them or have a word for them. And then also your rebirths. So all of that is a line stretching back. If we are to accept that, then we would go to Sri Krishna, who told Arjuna, I got all this wisdom from Vishvasvat. And Arjuna said, Vishvasvat, he lived thousands of years ago. How did you get that wisdom from him? And Krishna said, oh, well, I've had many lifetimes, Arjuna, and I know them all. You've had many lifetimes too, but you don't remember them yet. That's in the Gita. There's a very famous little couple slokas in the Gita. So a great being like Krishna is standing up as evidence for the fact that you've had many lifetimes. So this is a seer. This is an avatar, actually. And you're not going to believe him? He's a knower of consciousness and of truth, and you're not going to believe him? So then the idea of a parigraha is based in that, non-giving of gifts. So a lot of people complain about that when they hear that, see that as one of the requisites of yoga. What do you mean I can't give gifts and receive gifts? I like to give gifts, and so forth. Well, look at the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna is saying there's a perfect time to give a gift, and there's the right mind to give it in, and there's the right person to give it to. That's called sattvic gift giving. So he allows it, you see. But then there's a wrong time to give it to the wrong person for the wrong intention. There's even a violent way to give gifts, to insult people on purpose, you see. That's called sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic gift giving. So Krishna has it all outlined there in the final chapter of the Gita for you to look at. So it's not like people will stop giving gifts or receiving gifts. It's like they'll begin to consider the deeper meaning of things. Well, maybe I shouldn't receive that gift from that person right now. Or maybe I shouldn't give that gift to that person right now. What's my motive? Am I trying to impress them? Am I trying to insult them? Do I want to get in good graces with them? Do I have some selfish motivation? See, all of that is there. But then there's this really important thing there in non-giving of gifts, that by having commerce with people, like America is having with other countries, and taking and giving resources and so forth, that you'll forget the real purpose of life. You'll do business, and you'll forget the business of God realization, you see. The secular will replace the spiritual. The sacred and the profane will change places, see. And all of a sudden, you have a gross society based just on materials, right? How'd that happen? How did we fall so low, you see? And you'll wake up later and, oh, our country is dying. Things aren't going right. Look out, the volcano's going off. We're covered, we're dead. We're a mere memory. Now, lifetimes later, I have to think back on my death at the hands of Pompeii, you see. But I'm not going to be able to look back on my lifetimes if I continue to give gifts and receive gifts as if that were the most important thing in life. Really, it means about gathering things to yourself, holding things, owning things, possessing things. The yogi says, I own nothing. I possess nothing. Even those things that are attributed to me, I only custodian them. I can't hold them, because not only are there going to be impediments to me, but you can't hold empty things. You ever tried to hold water? Or grasp air? That's like trying to own an object. It's temporary. Didn't we just say temporality is one of the facets of Maya? Another name for Maya? You don't grasp onto temporary things. That's ludicrous, ridiculous to do that. So all you have is yourself, and you're satisfied in yourself. That's called Atmic realization. So if you've fallen from that, he leads you back. All right, so here's the things you have to be. Nonviolent, truthful, non-covetousness, moderate in your appetites, and free from owning and possessing things. Then over here, those are the 5 yamas. That's the first limb of yoga, those 5. Then over here is the second limb of yoga. You want to do some austerity. Things are bothering you. So if you take them to task, they will go away. If you just forbear them, you just sit there and let them persist, and they won't go away. So you do some austerity around them. And that will break through them. So that's called intensity. You intensify your japa practice, or you intensify your meditation, or you work harder, you see. On all different levels of yoga, you increase, you intensify. And that gets rid of that lackadaisicalness in which that atmosphere collects those impurities that you can't see. Like dust over a mirror, so you can't see yourself. Right? Keep that wiped clean every day. Intensity, tapas, austerity is one of the great things. Study the scriptures. If you have to go sit and listen to Babaji for 3 hours once a week, do it. Put yourself in that fire. We did with my guru, time and time again. We couldn't hear enough. See, and every time we left there, we were reborn. We were remade. And we'd go back and go into our life a week, a month, and the dust would start to collect on the mirror again. And we'd go back and get it wiped clean. Until we could keep our own mirror clean. You see, thank you very much. Jai Shri Guru. You see, now I'm fine. I got out of samsara. I put the devil behind me. I got Maya. I got done with Maya. And now I'm fine. I'm healthy. I'm a true human being. See? What I always was and what I always should be. I made it. Congratulations, you see. Now go help others. That's Swadhyaya. You study the scriptures, you hear the truth, and you set yourself free. Increase your devotion to God, depending on how you believe in God and what form you believe in God. If your faith is formless, then you increase your devotion to realizing the formless Brahman. If your faith is in anything from Divine Mother to the Word on down to the Trinity, to the gods and goddesses and so forth, you increase your devotion for them. Vivekananda said, people don't realize that it's a matter of expansion, never a matter of contraction. It's a matter of adding on, never a matter of doing away with. He said women are good at knowing that it's all a matter of adding on, accretion. But most people are always, taking away, taking away, taking away. And so this expansion of, to incorporate wider arms, you see, acceptance of reality and everything, can even go beyond emptiness and neti-neti stages and so forth, and all of a sudden you can see all as Brahman, which is the first thing I chanted today at class. All this is Brahman. It's not Maya. Some people are looking at it, seeing Maya. Other people are looking at the same thing and seeing Brahman. How's that? Must be somewhere in there a filter, or lack thereof. Is there a filter in there that's filtering Maya out? Or is there a filter in there that's filtering wisdom out? See? So go change the filter. Any good mechanic knows how to do that. Cars, air conditioners, do it for your mind too. Change the filter. Let air through, let light through, let wisdom in. It'll be much the better for you. And make it a practice. So increase your devotion to whatever you think of as divine, to whatever you think of as positive, good, healthy. Increase that, and let the other, water the flowers, not the weeds. It's very beautiful. St. Francis, I think. May we sow what is good, so and not what is evil, and so forth. Those kinds of things. It's a kind of pratipaksha bhavanam in Sanskrit. Or take unto yourself what is the Lord, and give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. It's an old rule. Santosha is contentment. We talked a little bit about that. Higher than happiness is contentment, and it's leading towards peace of mind. And saucha means purity. Do some purificatory exercises. Purify the body, purify the senses, purify the prana that's flowing through you. Breath, get everything flowing. And then purify the mind finally. If you could start with that, it would be best. But most people have to start with the body, go to the senses, go to the energy. You see, kind of work from the bottom up. But the seers know if you start with the mind and purify that, then prana, senses, and energy will right themselves. It's a great secret. There's two ways in which to practice yoga, the Upanishad says. That's the Yoga Kundalini Upanishad says it. It says one is to get a hold of the prana, and the other is to purify the mind. Of those two, the latter is best. Purify the mind. If you have to get a hold of the prana, it's all right, people do it that way. But if you can go straight to the mind and purify it, everything else gets pure. You see, if your mood is good, everything is good, right? Mood is bad, everything is bad. Your mind can change from this to this in an hour. It can be, everything is rosy, wine and roses, red-cheeked, everything is gaunt, shallow, gray, depressed, you see. And it can happen in a switch of a mood. Overnight, as you go into deep sleep. You went to sleep in a great mood, you woke up in a foul mood. How is that happening to you? And how can I get a control of that and keep myself even? So, purification is going to be necessary in yoga. Saucha. That's the second limb of yoga. Third limb of yoga is just what I'm doing for you right here. And that's all it is. One posture, ekasana, is all you need. If you cannot get into this posture, then you may have to do a few other postures. And that's where hatha comes in. But this is all you need. And this is what you want to end up with. So you can sit like this for hours. If you get thrown in prison, you can sit like this in prison. I have people I'm teaching that to in prison. If you're out in the forest and civilization goes away, you can sit like this under a tree. Buddha did it, Christ did it, they all did it, you see. Muhammad, Moses, they all went away to the mountain and sat, you see, under a tree, on a hill, next to a river. Krishna says, a place not too high, not too low, free of interruptions, see. And then just shut down the senses, still the breath, still the heart rate, still the thoughts, and concentrate on me and on me alone. That's how he puts it. And he puts it that you do that at the time of death too. About the time you feel your death coming, because a sensitive person will know when their death is coming. A lot of people don't want to admit it, see. But you can see the signs. And some people actually say, I'm wrapping it up here. Old people even know that sometimes. And if they don't, others can see it. You know, they're wrapping it up. So at the time of death, you should be able to do that. Just put the concentration in the heart and the tension in the mind and just give up the body. And you practice that meditation for years. See? So why can't you, so that you're prepared for that moment. Guess what? You're having a conscious exit from the body, maybe for the first time in a many set of lifetimes. You're having your first conscious exit from the body without fear, without doubt, in full realization of what's to come. And so if you can have your first conscious death, you can have your next first conscious birth. Wouldn't that be nice? To be born fully conscious? You won't need dharmic parents. You'll probably be teaching your parents. Wasn't Christ teaching his parents? Where'd you go, son? Oh, I must be about my father's business. Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. Ramana Maharshi left home at a very young age. Other great seers, even in contemporary times we know, just walked out on their parents. Gone. It wasn't like, I'm leaving home. Come running back when it starts raining. Cold, I'm hungry. Wasn't that? It's for the illumined souls who were done with family life, and they were about their father's business. They knew, before they even were born, that that's what they were going to do. Christ knew he was going to get crucified. He went there on purpose. That was his fulfillment, you see. So death doesn't daunt them. And life is an opportunity for teaching, for sharing, for exemplifying. Here we think of the incarnation as a savior, but in the East they think of an incarnation as an exemplar. Think of the difference of that. In other words, Christ hasn't come to save you, he's come to show you the light, right? He's come to be an example of how to get free. He doesn't want to take the trouble to get you free. You got into this mess, get yourself out of it, see? He only has to help those that are pathetic, lost, worthless. Those he will stoop to help. But the real reason he's here is to exemplify. I am the truth, I am the light. Thee who follow me, those of you who follow me, will come to me. Whether you put it in terms of the Gita or the Bible, these great souls are exemplars, not saviors only. And sadhana is the way you're going to follow the example. These great souls give you these systems so that you can practice. You can make yourself. What else do you think cut yourself in the image means? Man is cut in the image of God. If he forgets that, then he has to recut. See? Here's some ways of cutting. Tapas, study of scripture, so forth. Cutting away all that superfluous, right? Getting down to the core essence again. Shining with the original light of consciousness. Chaitanya ho, as Ramakrishna said. May your consciousness be awakened. So asana, you need just to sit. You see, that's posture. Yama, niyama, and asana. First three. That's the basis for yoga. Here's a big warning, cautionary for all of you. do not start asana before you get these 5 or these 10 under your belt. As if you sit like this, you spread the spine, and Kundalini is already marching up the spine even before you're aware of it. And that's not a power to trifle with. You want to be ready, and this is what makes you ready for the awakening of Mother Power, Kundalini Shakti. Even just sitting like this, cross-legged, opens the apertures. She's already beginning to say, oh, maybe he wants me to rise. Maybe that mother bird, maybe that little chick in the egg is ready to crack its shell, you see. So I think I'll start rising. This has been a posture for people who are strong. American Indians, yogis, So if you sit like this, the energy's coming up already. And you want to be prepared for it. That's one of the ways, Kundalini style, of telling how these 10 yamas and yamas need to be in place. Maybe not perfected yet, because they will perfect over time, but they need to be in place before you sit. And we've noticed the adverse effect of people just sitting like this and doing asana, where it leads them. And we're not seeing any spiritual growth, we're not seeing any enlightenment. It's been around for 50 years now in the West, in America I'm speaking, since the 50s and 60s. Aren't we supposed to be seeing some signs of rising Kundalini, of illumination, some higher intelligence even, some great souls coming forth? So, very important, not usually said, but here's an opportunity to say it. Get the yamas and niyamas as well mastered as possible, then sit, then breathe. And the breathing is, as I've often said, not a matter of just watching the breath. That's a start. But it's a matter of finding that which causes you to breathe. That's an energy. Man does not live by bread alone. That's what you're looking for. What is causing my lungs to breathe in and out? And what's the meaning of my lungs breathing in, holding, and breathing out? Why do I breathe, and why does it make me feel peaceful? Why am I short of breath when I'm angry? Why do I I cut my breaths in half in deep sleep tonight? All those kinds of things you're beginning to consider. Oh, the breath has a very great import here. But if you just reduce the breath to some sort of mechanical, exercise with no consciousness attached to it and no connection with the other limbs on all sides of it, then the prana is not really leading you anywhere. You don't ever discover the prana. You don't ever discover that by which man lives without bread. So that great energy inside of you that is apparently caused by the ingestion of food can be utilized not just for exercise or not just for activities, but for spiritual realization. That's why we chant Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir. The food is Brahman, right? But it's got that Brahman potential in it. But there are a lot of people eating food who aren't getting realization. If we got realization from food, we'd all be illumined lifetimes ago, you see. So just eating is not enough. My teacher used to say that. Man does not live to eat, he eats to live. And he meant live a true life, like he lived for 90 years. See, a true life, eternal life, what Christ was talking about. So breathing has that connection to food and has that connection to thoughts. And it has that connection to your soul leaving the body at the time of death. Prana will be will be the operator of the mind leaving the body at the time of death. So you want to know it. You want to make acquaintance with the prana. And it starts with watching the breath and becoming aware of that there's an energy that's not just physical. It's called vital. So physical first, then vital, right? And guess what? Right at the vital level is where people are having their emotional problems. Go to the healers. Yeah. First thing they'll probably say to a person having a fit, an emotional fit, is slow down, breathe. See? Or a person who's angry, just count to 10, breathe. It's old news, really. But the real interconnection to that is about The vital level is not calm. So physical first, then vital, then mental. So you're really talking about physical, emotional, and mental. How to heal all that. See, Patanjali was a great healer of the body and of the mind and of the spirit too, and of the intellect also. He was a holistic healer. He was probably the best, if not the first, or one of the first or earliest of all holistic healers that we ever knew. See, he wanted all parts of your being in balance. That's yoga, equilibrium. So that's important. We can go on about all these limbs, and you probably have to come to a yoga retreat to really go in depth with these. But if you have all of these in order, number 5 is not going to be that hard. Pratyahara means taking your mind away from objects, basically. And it happens on 2 levels. You have to take your mind away from external objects, and you practice that back here, right? By giving up gifts and gift giving. So should be a little easier for you if you've practiced and attained to parigraha to then get sense control. But the hardest thing, as you know if you've tried to meditate, is stopping your mind from thinking about objects in your mind, thought objects. One of the connections you could make here is that this object was first a thought in my mind, and then it congealed with the power of Maya using wood, water, air, and so forth, you see. So it's a material object now, but it pre-existed its state in my mind as a book. Thought book came before article book, see. So if that's true, if I can take my mind away from that attachment I have, say to food or something, or to some coveted object, then I can meditate better. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, an object kept near a mirror reflects in it. Kind of a cryptic saying that he meant, if you keep money near you, you'll think about money all the time. That's what he was saying. And it's not enough just to put it in the bank, because then you're going to think about the bank vault and how much money is in it, you see. Very hard to give up, to practice pratyahara then, isn't it? To give up thoughts about things. Not just these things. Most people can manage that. Okay, I've left the physical world now, I'm not thinking of anything, I feel pretty good. But then they examine their mind and they see the thoughts rising constantly. Trains of thought with little cabooses going by. The next engine comes and another train goes by and another caboose. The yogis say, when that caboose goes by and before the next engine comes, seize that and expand it. That is, seize that thoughtless time, a few moments there, and expand it and try and turn it into a minute. Patanjali made a great statement and said, if you can keep your mind from thinking about things for 7 seconds, it's called a minor samadhi. 7 seconds. Very hard to do. You're probably going to say, okay, I'm going to do that. But now I'm thinking about trying to keep the mind from thinking. So, how do you make the mind blank like that, you see? Well, mantra, is help. Sure, you're thinking about the name of the Lord and doing the beads, but it's called a big, powerful tidal wave, and it'll get rid of all the little waves in your mind. So you try and, again, water the flowers, not the weeds. You try and concentrate on something that's very powerful, a great teaching, a great savior, or better yet, an exemplar. And that will reduce the thought, minor thoughts in your mind. And then through that grace, you can get to higher things. Anyway, a little bit about pratyahara on outside and inside. Very difficult to practice. So people fall from the tree right about there. That's why there are no great seers or sages or great practitioners of yoga, or very few of them in America. They fall right there. And they wouldn't fall if they had really spent time preparing. If they didn't covet objects, if they weren't violent, if they didn't give and receive gifts as if it were the grandest thing to do, you see. All of these things would begin to fructify as they climbed the tree, like muscles that would keep you in place, so that by the time you got to the 5th limb, you'd be able to stop thinking. cease and be still. Sometimes you're able to do that. Just sit. Oh, this is perfect. You see, the time is right. Your breathing's right. The meditation is fine. I heard somebody say yesterday, that hour went by like a minute. That morning meditation we were in. That hour seemed like a minute. But other days, a minute seems like an hour in meditation. So yes, there is some sort of cyclic right timing that's going on, depending on your karmas and your mental impressions and what's going on in your life at any particular time. That's your thought process, isn't it? And your thoughts are going to be involved with that. To control that is no small and mean thing then. Yes, you can look for those times, but really practice means that you should be able to attain peace of mind in the thick of it. When the mind is at its worst, that's when the best time to practice is. Because if you can control it at that time, you can control it any time, you see. So you sit, even when you're in a tamasic mood. See? Holy Mother gave us one concession, she said. Practice meditation the same time every day, because then you'll see how the mind changes. If you absolutely cannot sit any particular day, don't give up your seat and leave meditation. Take up a scripture and read it. So she didn't want you to leave that hour of practice. Oh, can't meditate today. It's impossible. I'm better off not meditating. Yeah, you're probably right. But it doesn't mean to give up your practice. So that hour is allotted, right? You've promised yourself to practice that tapas. And if you master tapas, then you'll pick up a book and you'll say, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember Babaji talking about that. I remember those teachings. And all of a sudden you feel like meditating, you see. You've changed your mind. That 2% shift just happened to you. And you did it. You can do it all the time. You see, you begin to get confidence in yourself as a meditator, as a practitioner. Pretty soon you don't want to leave your seat. There's a tendency in yoga called chanchala vritti. Vritti means vibration. Chanchala means erratic. It's a thought in my mind that keeps coming up in meditation saying, you don't want to be here, you want to stand up and move about. That's a great obstacle to yoga. If you can overcome that obstacle and just say, and stuff it, you see, I will sit here, and I will get control, and I will be peaceful, and I will see my true self, or die trying. And that's the kind of resolve a yogi uses in order to get mastery, in order to attain yoga. And if he does, you see, he's beginning to master the art of concentration, dharana. It's one of those limbs, you see, dharana. Concentration, then meditation, then absorption. That's 6, 7, and 8. Or you call it dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. Precious word there, samadhi. Like nirvana in Buddhism, or satori in Zen. Those kinds of words mean beyond meditation. See? You're actually God in human form at that moment. I and my Father have become one. I am experiencing my own pure self, my own pure consciousness. Skin horripulates, hairs stand on the end, breathing stops, heart rate slows down. You can touch the eye of a person and they won't blink, you see. They're just gone, utterly gone. They have left the body and senses. And it's going to be hard to pull them back, you see. Sort of like trying to wake up someone out of deep sleep, you see. They're gone, aren't they? Out of their senses, out of their mind. They don't even think of form in deep sleep. They're not unhappy. Deep sleep is probably the happiest time, and it's probably why people take refuge in it. Oh, you sleep too much. I'm happy there. But if they're dreaming, they're not, because their dreaming and waking is the same thing. What you experience in waking state, you take into your dream state. You might have noticed, if your life is hell, your dream state will be nightmare. And if your life is just so-so, your dream state will also be just so-so. You'll be having these silly dreams, you see. But deep sleep, that's entirely different, you see. So people understand that. I'm just going to go formless now. Goodbye, good night. Draw down the curtain, that's it, you see. And if they get enough deep sleep, they're happy, balanced people, aren't they? They're not nervous wrecks, like they dream too much. a person who gets a good 4 or 5, 6 hours of deep sleep at night rather than 8 hours of dreaming tends to go around in perfect balance. Sattva it's called. It's not the highest thing, but sattva is definitely preferable to restlessness and laziness. See? So balance, you see a balanced person, they're probably getting good deep sleep at night. And I have people that come to me and say, I can't sleep, so I take a pill. It's like Midol Samadhi or something. See? No dose. Take no dose because they can't stay awake, you see. So, relying on a pill is not good for anything. It's only a last-ditch effort. What you need to do is master your consciousness. Because why? Your consciousness is ever awake. It doesn't sleep. You've heard God doesn't sleep? Well, now you know why. That consciousness is ever awake. It doesn't go to sleep, and then wake up again. You see. It doesn't be born and live and then die. It's not like the rest of the things you see in Maya. It's totally unique in that way. And the yogis that attain it become Brahman. They who know Brahman become Brahman. So it's a quote right out of the Upanishads. So those 3 limbs we could talk a lot about as we come up to the last 5 minutes or so. Basically, concentration after you've gained control of thought process. Again, just like asana would be very dangerous if you didn't master these, concentration would be very difficult if you hadn't already attained the ability to stop your mind from thinking. Concentration is one-pointed focus. If thine eye be single type of focus. In Vedanta we call it samadhana. It's one of the 6 jewels of Vedanta. A special type of concentration that allows you to focus on divine reality alone, without anything else there. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm just going to tune in on God alone. There he is. That's it. The matter is all over. I stay in concentration now. As if I was looking right into the ocean of light itself, and I'm one with it. That's samadhana. You don't even have to attempt to meditate there. So that kind of concentration is lauded and valued, coveted. There's a lot of things you shouldn't covet, asteya, but that kind of one-pointed concentration, you can covet that. Just like you can covet devotion to God. Some things, some desires are good for you, some desires aren't. You have to distinguish. Got viveka? Because if you've got viveka, you can distinguish between those things that are beneficial and those things that are detrimental. Meditation, 7th limb. Guess what? It's not the ultimate thing. There's one interesting thing to say about it that doesn't get said often. Because samadhi is so rare, then meditation has kind of become the thing people are searching for. You see, I want to practice meditation for 8 hours a day. They sort of major in meditation, some paths and so forth. And sometimes it kind of blows the mind out of the water. Try to jump into meditation. It's like jumping from the lowest step to the highest step, you see. You're not ready for the view. So it'd probably be better to go by stages. Prepare yourself. Go by the next stage. Prepare yourself. You've got this huge foundation underneath you. I mean, what if you just took away the roots and the tree and the branches and just left the highest branch and you jumped to it? Would you feel very safe and secure? You look down there, no tree under you? Where'd it go? So you go by stages. Avastas, they're called. And master them one at a time. And it makes for the most substantial statement in the long run. Long, slow maturation makes for the most substantial statement in the long run. So pace yourself like a good runner. Don't be in a hurry to get to the goal. The truth is, you're already that. So you don't want to surprise yourself too much, too early. You want to grow into the realization of who you are. That's a very wise, and basically yoga is set up that way, you see. If you find a soul who can just go like that to samadhi, they've already mastered it in a past lifetime. They're just showing you how it can be done. That's all. Don't try this at home, kids, they say, right? Just go on your merry way, you see, stage by stage, attaining over time. You will find your way, Milarepa sings. In that regard, you will find your way. So meditation, a lot to be said about that. It's form and it's with formlessness, but don't forget that there is an apex to meditation called Samadhi, or complete absorption. The hailstone was falling at the ocean and it said, "Oh my God." You see, there's my essence. I'm going to dissolve into it. It's inevitable. You see. But as it fell, it started to melt, you see, as it got closer. So there's a stage of absorption that happens, and then there's a stage of immersion. So Samadhi has a form side of it, and Samadhi has a formless side. The form side is starting to get absorbed, and the formless side is immersion. You're already immersed. You're that. I am that, or I am. See, that's where those Mahavakyas or great statements apply. Up there, in there, the highest level. Beautiful, you see. We get chikan skin, brother, as they say in Hawaii. See, it means goosebumps when you think of that kind of high samadhi. So there we've gone through, although I didn't really intend to, but there was a request that we really kind of go through all 8 limbs and put it in juxtaposition to this tree of samsara and see if you just want to start transformation. The transformation may be a part of Maya, but transformation in the mind is the highest part of Maya. So that's good. Start to transform your old thoughts into new thoughts. New lamps for old, you see. And reach that high pinnacle of yoga, which is so lauded and coveted by the illumined souls. Eventually, you'll be a master of the 8 limbs, and yoga, will be a state already at hand. You'll come into the body in yoga. You'll live in yoga. You'll leave the body in yoga. You see, marvelous souls. We don't really know how to assess them until we study their systems. Gee, what was Christ really like? Was he just a great guy? Was he a savior? Was he a divine incarnation? Well, that doesn't quite help me know him. But when we study the systems, we know these people, how they got there, and how they come back so illumined. And then we don't have any doubts about them anymore. We have such great devotion to Buddha or Christ, and all of a sudden we think, well, maybe they weren't so great. See, actually, I can look at their life, and they had some imperfections. See, they died. He must not be God. He got cancer, so he must not be God. See, there are stories of people who were around the avatar, and as soon as he started showing the symptoms of death, they left him. They were there when he was healthy. As soon as he started showing the symptom of death, they all left him. See? And only those ones who really saw him as who he truly was stayed with him. See? So you're believing in the transformations of Maya. See? All these souls will suffer if they take bodies. Anything that's born will have to die. But the soul is birthless and deathless. The good news of Vedanta. See? And that thou art. Tattvamasi, that thou art. So here we've run out of time, and we got to see these 2 trees side by side. And we will live stream, not next week because that's our retreat on Divine Mother up the Columbia River Gorge, but the week after we'll live stream from Portland, and the week after that from Portland. And then we'll return to Hawaii and do a series of classes there too. So check into your website, SRV, and you may find the schedule there, which we're always updating and keeping you track with. And since it's very hard in this busy workaday world to find time for this kind of beautiful communion, Atma Vichara we call it, then if it's impossible for you to be with us in any given date, you may, after the fact, look back on these classes and absorb them in your own time. And that we leave behind for you, along with these charts, these great scriptures, and our adamant encouragement to look into a healthy spiritual life along with a good, healthy body, healthy senses, and healthy mind. So thank you for your kind attentions here on this final class in our San Francisco Dharma visit. And let's end here with a Sanskrit sloka. Om Tachnayo, Om Tachnayo Ravrinnimahe Gatong Yagyaya Gatong Ye Nupataye Daivi Swastarastu Naha Swastir Manusebhyaha Urdvam Jigatu Bhesajam Sangnoastu Dvipade Sangchatushpate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we make a offering into the Great Self. May we always delight in this offering. May we always revere the Lord and Mother of all sacrifices. May divine blessings be upon us. May peace be into the entire human race. May healing, well-being, and prosperity also abide with us. Om peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us, and may peace be unto all. Om Hari